Welcome back to Morning Joy, where truth matters. I'm your host, Keith Downey, and very excited to introduce our next guest. She's a certified Billings Ovulation Method instructor and is passionate about making NFP, natural family planning, more accessible through Catholic Women and Couples NFP, also known as CWC NFP. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning.
It's great to have you on the show. There's so many questions, but I guess to open it up, in case there's some people out there that aren't really familiar with natural family planning, maybe give our listeners a brief overview of what natural family planning is, and also how you and Catholic Women and Couples NFP make it more accessible.
Of course. So NFP is just really paying attention to our bodies and the signs that God has given us through our bodies to know when we're fertile, when we aren't, and really give us insight into our overall health as well. So with Catholic Women and Couples NFP, as you may know, it can be hard to find an NFP instructor just in your parish, unless you're blessed to have one there. So the whole point has been to make it more accessible, make it so that money is not an option, because sometimes they can be really expensive to find an instructor. And so it's just allowing any Catholic women, hey, you can have these classes, no charge, they're over Zoom, you don't even have to leave your house, and you can get this.
Wow, that's incredible. Just thinking of my own experience when my wife and I were going through the classes, we had to be there in person, and our instructor wasn't Catholic. I don't even think she was Christian. And so that we were missing that element, and just knowing that there's something out there like Catholic Women and Couples NFP that, you know what you're going to get. And you mentioned it's free, you said?
It is absolutely free, yes.
Wow. Okay. Very interesting. And we'll talk more about where you can, you listeners out there can get more information on this. But to kind of take it to kind of personal with you, what led you to become an advocate for natural family planning?
So I'm a convert, actually. I was raised Baptist. NFP was nowhere on my radar. And when I learned about it, I wasn't sold, to be honest. But once I finally gave in to God and said, okay, fine, I'll learn this, I was amazed at what it told me about myself. But it had been so hard for me to find an instructor. There were no instructors near me. I had to learn with the Australians. So the time difference, really interesting with that. And so I've always wanted to make it more accessible to people. So as soon as I heard about this organization, I said, sign me up. I want to do this. Anything to just, get that word out there and make it so it's so much easier for people to do that.
Yeah. And it's one of those things too that I don't know, like I didn't really know about it until going through marriage prep. And you mentioned before too that it's not obviously for, family planning, but it's also getting to understand how, women's bodies work and knowing like the cycles and everything. And you're certified in the Billings Ovulation Method. There's obviously multiple methods. Why Billings?
For me, that was just the first one I had encountered, and it seemed like a good fit for me. I had talked to the only other Catholic I knew who used NFP was my aunt. So I had talked to her. She had done symptothermal, and I said, maybe that's a little too intense for me. I joke the Billings is for lazy people like me, honestly, with that. But they're all good methods. So I think it's whatever your personality goes for with that.
Yeah. And you mentioned a little bit earlier too, you were somewhat hesitant before you converted, but what would you say to someone who is considering NFP but has that kind of hesitancy or skepticism?
I understand how scary it is to go and take that step, but understanding that it's not just guesswork. There is real science behind it. I was very scared because I have endometriosis and cycles can be crazy. But learning NFP allowed me to understand exactly what was going on with those hormones and prepare and really get to know my body more. And so instead of being scared from then, it was really empowering.
Yeah. So, with that said, what are some common myths or misconceptions about natural family planning that you'd like to debunk for our audience?
Yeah, there's definitely this idea that you can only use it if you have this perfect textbook 28-day cycle, uh, that you can't use it, postpartum or with endometriosis or PCOS or any of this. And none of that is true
Mm.
because it's looking at what's going on a day-to-day basis. It doesn't matter beyond that. And there's also the idea that there's no way you can possibly know what's going on. Uh, I actually, I had to work with a hormone doctor for a while, and he's like, "Great, I don't have to tell you what the hormones are doing. You already know from your chart." I said, "Yes, exactly. That's why I'm here."
Interesting. Yeah. So, I guess another question to you, this is coming from a man, and just maybe there's other husbands out there. What would be the best way we can support our wives with natural family planning?
To learn about the method yourself so that it's not all on her. And I know I have a lot of the men where they're the ones actually keeping the chart. Obviously she makes the observations, but they're the ones having to write it down so that they're completely involved in it too. And it's a real partnership then.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's something for the husband to do, and makes us feel like we're doing something, because that's very helpful,
Exactly.
especially in charting. So yeah, today's world, it's pretty crazy where technology and medicine, they're advancing rapidly. There's all sorts of crazy things going on with that. In your opinion, where does NFP fit into this advancing technology and medicine?
Well, as I said, it gives us great insight into what our hormones are already doing, which can give us more information for our doctors as well. Most methods of NFP have apps that go with them now, so we can always have it on our phones when we
Mm.
go to the doctor's appointments or whatever with that. And so I think it really does fit in with this increasing technology.
Yeah, and I feel like if more people use this, and I've known some individuals that aren't Catholic or Christian that use it because of how valuable the information is.
Mhm.
Just getting to know your body, it should be taught everywhere. Um, what challenges have you faced in, I guess, making NFP more accessible to people, and how have you overcome that?
Let's say before working with Catholic Women and Couples NFP, it almost felt like pulling teeth trying to get people to do this. In the diocese where I live, NFP is required for marriage prep, and so then you get a bunch of people who don't actually want to be there
Mm.
with that. Uh, Working with this, uh, you know, being able to advertise and get it out there so people know this is available has really, I've seen such changes with people coming in really wanting
Hmm.
to do this, or people coming in saying, "Hey, I never even knew that this was an option. I'm going to stop using contraceptives now,"
Wow.
which is amazing to see that.
Yes. Like I said, it goes back, and I don't know. Like from my experience, it was like NFP. You'd think it would be very much talked about in the parish life, but why is it so difficult to in the parish life to not have that information readily available? Has that been your experience as well? Why do you think that is?
Definitely. I mean, a lot of the priests don't know as much about it, uh, for whatever reason, not necessarily any fault of theirs
Sure.
with that. So they don't talk about it because they don't know about it. Uh, I'm in an ordinariate parish, so I have a married priest, so he actually has talked about it with that. But that's been the only time I can remember actually hearing about it from a priest, like during a homily.
Hmm, interesting. What could you give, I guess, advice to those of the laity that maybe, because the ordinariates are wonderful parishes, like you said, a lot of the priests are married, so they have knowledge of it. But is there any advice you could give us, the laity, to kind of help foster this NFP message?
Just to be open about it and talking about it, not just talking about the the good sides of it, but talking about our struggles too, to make it real.
Mm,
'Cause I don't think it actually helps if we just like talk only about the good parts, but to know like, hey, yeah, it's hard. It's truly hard, but it's worth it.
yeah, I love that idea of like not trying to sell it with all the positives, and kind of, yeah, tucking away some of the struggles. It's very important because, like you said, it makes it real. But what, looking towards the future here and developments in NFP, is there anything of that nature of any sort of future developments, or are we good with the methods that we have today? And any changes you hope to see in the future?
I think it's good that we're constantly learning more and making adjustments if needed. There are so many more methods out there now than there were even when I started. Because now there's Marquette and Boston Crosscheck and all of this. So again, bringing with more technology in. So what I hope is that this gets to be more well known in the medical community, so that we can really have this partnership working together in that.
Yeah, definitely. So, leading up to this question, now you're obviously with cwcnfp.org. You mentioned that anybody that's out there that's maybe looking for resources or maybe classes and there's nobody there to help guide them. So that's the organization CWC NFP. Where can we find more information about this and just resources in general about NFP?
Well, definitely you can go to our website, cwcnfp.org, and we should have a number of resources on there. My Catholic Doctor also has a lot of good resources on their website, and they have a lot of NFP instructors as well and different methods. A few of the dioceses have some good resources. I know the Diocese of Syracuse has a really good page on that. And right now it's just kind of piecemeal with that, but hopefully you get more out there.
That's incredible. Thank you so much, Susan Miller, for hopping on and kind of unveiling a lot of the questions that I'm sure a lot of people have about natural family planning. We can see you at cwcnfp.org. So thank you so much, Susan, for sharing all of that with us. And that pretty much wraps up Morning Joy, where truth matters for today. But hey, there's two things. There's two things here. First, the journey does continue with the celebration of the Holy Mass right here on Guadalupe Radio Network. And second, for those who are wanting to keep the conversation going, you need to head on over to YouTube, our GRN online YouTube page, or our Morning Joy Show Facebook page for the exclusive after show clubhouse. We'll be diving deeper into today's topic, answering your live questions, and having a little bit of joy involved with that, okay? So we'll see you on those pages.
This has been Morning Joy, where truth matters, hosted by Keith Downey. Take some joy with you today. Visit grnonline.com/joy to listen again, share a segment, or answer the question of the day. That's grnonline.com/joy.